Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Letty Darlene Derbigny. I was born right here in La Junta, Colorado. I never lived on the Drive. But I tell everybody, oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I never lived on the Drive, but I tell everybody that I spent 1/7 of my life on the Drive. And that's because every weekend we jumped in the family car and went to the country. We didn't call it the Drive. That's just, recently they started calling it the Drive. So I lived in the city, right? I lived in London. So we just got in the car and went to the country. So what I want to give you tonight is my vision of the Drive. I'm going to share my childhood with you and how I spent it on the Drive. The main focus, of course, is my grandmother, Lula May Sadler Craig. She's the main focus of this. She was born August 12th in 1868 in Platte County, Missouri. And she lived to be 104 years old. She died in September of 1972 in Manzanillo, Colorado. 104 years old. Her husband, my grandfather, I never met. His name was Sanford Gustav Craig. He died in 1941. I wasn't born until 1944. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm 79 years old. Thank you. They didn't applaud that this afternoon. They weren't impressed. Anyway, I was playing with the numbers. I know with math teachers are always trying to make up games and so forth, with similar numbers in different locations. And the 79 years, I'm 79 years after this war or that war, was kind of interesting. So my grandfather actually died pretty young. He was only 55 years old. And Lula's parents were enslaved people. They were not slaves. They were brought to this country and they were forced into servitude. There's some people who say that since the days of slavery are finished and bygone, that we shouldn't talk about it anymore. And it shouldn't be in the textbooks anymore. But if I could stand here before you, 79 years old, and talk about my great-grandparents being enslaved, in thraldom, it's important. And it was not that long ago. It was like yesterday. Okay, and my grandmother's parents were Mary Lee, George Sadler, and Harriet Ellen Samuels. They also were in bondage. Lula married young. She was 18 years old. And the family moved to Kansas in 1872 in a covered wagon, and she was only 4 years old. Some important dates we need to kind of keep in mind when we're thinking about all of this. The Declaration of Independence, 1776, Civil War, 1861 to 1865, Emancipation Proclamation, 1863. Sometimes we forget history and when, where, and how things happened. They're moving on to Kansas now. They were called the Exodusters. If you remember, the second book of the Bible is called Exodus because the Israelites wanted to get out of slavery. And that's exactly what they were doing. They left the South for many reasons. Economic, security, vigilantes, KKK, improve their status, gain land, and spiritual motivation. And there was you probably heard of the Homestead Act of 1862, where people could, if you lived on land for 5 years, then it became yours. So that's how many people became landowners. And that's what my grandparents and great-grandparents did. They went to Nicodemus in a covered wagon. It didn't have much. They did have that, which was good. It was a hard trip, long trip. And when they got there, Lula's now 11 years old. When they got there, they were kind of at a loss for words because they couldn't see anything. There were no buildings, and there were no people. They thought, well, we know we're in the right place, so what happened? People were living in dugouts. That meant they lived underground. So the only thing to show for that was like the smoke stacks coming out of the ground. So they left for a better life. I don't know how good that looked though. It was an all-black town, of course. Hill City is the twin city of Nicodemus, but Hill City did not want any people of color in their town. So they had to build their own town. And conditions were difficult in Nicodemus. It was poor conditions, and my grandmother always told us the story of they were low on food, and the Indians would come by and look around and see. They could tell what the conditions were they knew before they got there. And they'd ride around and drop packages of food to help them survive. So her family always believed in education. She went to school with George Washington Carver, whose name you probably recognize. She graduated from State Teachers College in Emporia, Kansas, and she taught grades 1 through 8. She also served on the Nicodemus election board, which was pretty rare for a woman and rare for a woman of color. So in April of, they thought Nicodemus would kind of pick up and things would get better because there was a rumor of the railroad going through. So there were high hopes. The railroad did come through, but it bypassed Nicodemus. So that was a dream deferred. So they decided, April of 1915, the Saddlers and the Craigs, to continue on to Colorado. Lula is now 47 years old, and she has several children. And I'll read their names because these are my aunts and uncles that I knew, grew up with, and bought me Christmas presents and fixed dinner for us. So there was May Lively, and some of you who were from La Junta knew her. Lynette, who lived right here in La Junta. Hattie Burney, Viola Mitchell, Harvey Craig, Lucille died young. Theophilus, who was a doctor. Marido, who's my father. And Teresita was her last child, but she died. She only lived 1 year. So the reason I'm able to be here is because I'm the daughter of Lula's youngest son. Does that make sense? Okay. Part of the people who moved to Manzanilla, she was part of all of that. There were about 100 black people who settled there. She taught in a one-room building that served as the school, the literary club, the church, community events, all of that. She did that from 1916 until 1933. It was called the Prairie Valley School. And while she was in La Junta, they established the Herbert Chapel AME Church. And AME stands for African Methodist Episcopal Church because the white churches didn't want black people in their churches. So they built a church that was all inclusive, or they tried to be, you know. The building is still here. It's on 2nd Street in Smithsonian. It's in poor repair, and I hope one day it will be able to be renovated. But it was built in 1921, and Lula was a founding member, and she was also the first deaconess of that church. Her daughter, May Lively Crow, was an ordained minister, and she was the assistant pastor from 1960 to 1977. If you ever drive down that way, that's down where the jail is, just take a look at the building. The brick is really pretty whitish blonde brick, very pretty building. So during the Depression, a lot of people left the drawing, but the Craigs didn't. A lot of them left, and the Craigs stayed until 1970. There's nothing out there now. Everybody says, well, what is there to see? What can we see? We want to go see it. Everything was vandalized and burned or whatever, so there's really nothing there to see. Only what's up here. Lula was a writer, an educator. She knew the importance of writing it down. You know, the old saying, the job isn't finished until you've done the paperwork. So she wrote a history of Nicodemus in Graham County, Kansas, which is preserved in the Kenneth Spencer Research Library of the University of Kansas. I have a book, Wagon Wheels. This is based on my grandmother's notes that she took. So I would just like to pass it around and just thumb through it, but I would like to have it back. It's the only copy that I have. And many people who are doing their master's or doctorate work would call and get permission so they could use her research work there for their paper. And I always said, sure, of course, use it. I'd like to see a copy of your dissertation or your thesis, but I never got to see one. They always said, yes, we'll give you one, we will. So. There was a film made, and I have some pictures later and a little clip of the film. It was called Happy Birthday, Mrs. Craig, and that was to celebrate her 102nd birthday. And it took place on the drive. They set up tents and was out, in the backyard. It was sponsored by Harry Belafonte Enterprises, and it's full of interviews from friends, children, great-grands, family members, neighbors, friends from all over. She was inducted into the Blacks in Colorado Hall of Fame in 1973, I'm sorry. Some of her words to live by, we would listen to her. I love to listen to her talk, because she was soft-spoken and I was her granddaughter, so of course I wanted to hear everything she had to say. And if you're a grandchild, you're special, right? But some of her words to live by were, be informed, know what's going on. She always had newspapers, and she had magazines. Her favorite magazine was U.S. News and World Reports. And of course, when TVs finally came along, they had a TV because they wanted to watch the news. It wasn't like it is today. Keep the land. The land is important. Be independent. Do your best. She would emphasize this. If somebody asks you to do a job for them and you want to do it, make sure that you can. Do the very best that you can. And if you can't do it, don't accept it. We are family. We're a unit. We stick together. That's what family means. We are one. We are one. I have to make some notes about that yet. So what was life really like on the drive? Okay, so like I said, every weekend we jump in the car and we go out to the country, and There were two routes my dad would take. One was on Highway 10, that was like the back road. And we liked to take that road because it had a lot of hills in it. So you go, boo, 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 and we'd say, go faster, go faster, go faster, because we want to jump up and bounce them down in the back seat. And then the other route was just go down Highway 50. Okay, they didn't have any water. They had to haul water. They didn't have any electricity. They had the cows, the pigs, the chickens. They had to have food, of course. No water, so they didn't have indoor toilets. And yes, I have used an outhouse. And yes, I choose not to use an outhouse. They had indoors. They had the chamber pot, which I did not know what it was when I was little. I just thought it was a pretty little vase in the corner until I went to investigate. They had the big, fluffy, feather mattresses, which were nice, pillows and mattresses. And when nobody was looking, I'd go sneak in the bedroom and jump up and down the beds. In the backyard, she had a big mulberry tree, which I liked to play in, climb, play under, eat the mulberries, remember that. But going to her house was so much fun because it was like going to a mini Disney World. I mean, she had a pump organ, you know, with the pedals and pull and the push. She had all kinds of books, all kinds of photographs and magazines, and she had a stereoscope. A stereoscope was a precursor of the Viewmaster. Everybody knows what a Viewmaster is. But the stereoscope was just kind of a wooden frame, and you put the actual photograph far away, and then you adjusted it. But that's what we had, and it was fun to look at. And then my Aunt Hattie was living with my grandmother then by this time. She was doing all the cooking for her. And I loved going in her kitchen because it smelled so good. They made their own butter. They had to separate it for the milk. I milked a cow. I collected the eggs. I'm not crazy about when they killed the pigs. But it smelled so good because everybody then, I guess, cooked everything from scratch. You know, homemade butter was delicious, homemade bread. And she had a huge, huge wood-burning stove. I mean, it was, I don't know, from here all the way down to the pole room. So they had everything in it. A place to hold the hot water, 2 or 3 ovens, a warmer at the top so you could cook it and keep it up there. And they also had the little triangle-type irons that they would heat up. And then you wrap them so that you could put them in the bed at night so your feet wouldn't be cold. And then, so we would meet every week when we would go out there, you know, have family meetings or talk about blessings or so forth. We would eat, we would sing. One of the songs we liked to sing was Home on the Range, because that's exactly where they were, home on the range. And they played cards, played a lot of cards. Card game we liked the most was 500, which is sort of like a mixture of pinochle and a bridge. You have to bid. And they loved playing this and they could play all night. And kids, as soon as you learn how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we played too. And we didn't make a mistake. We knew our numbers. So it was fun. Sometimes we'd stay late and end up spending the night, and not all the time, but sometimes. And of course, when we would, it was fun too, because we would get there, we'd pass Mr. Smith's house over here, and then we'd get to Aunt Roland's house, go up another mile, and then come to Grandma's house, go up another half a mile, and there's my other Aunt Viola. So, I mean, it was a real community, and to get to visit all those people was pretty exciting. So, Nicodemus today is a National Historic Site, and it's on Highway 24 there in Kansas. It became a National Historic Site in 1976. Every year, they have a family reunion there for the 4 days, the last 4 days of the month. And I've gone, and then my grandson was born, and his birthday is July 27th. So I spend time with my grandson. But as soon as he gets old enough to appreciate it, then we'll take him there also. So this year will be their 146th Emancipation Celebration. And this is a real big event. I mean, all the buildings are there. It was an entire town. We had everything: bank, hotel, church, schools, post office. They have Buffalo Soldiers. They have all the medical examinations given free. They have blood drives, speakers, Native Americans come to speak, all types of entertainment, music, food, and booths, and they have a famous fashion show. They also have all kinds of games for the children to participate. They have a cowboy breakfast, and they have the Black Farmers Association, and a huge parade. So even if you're not a descendant or a family relative, you would enjoy the event, and you would be welcome. So I wrote a little poem about when, I don't know, thinking about this. I guess it's not something I think about every day, but I'm always glad to focus on it. So I'm going to read you my little poem. I used to be a teacher. My poem. La Junta, my hometown. But how far have I come? Platte County, Missouri, to Graham County, Kansas, 1898 to 2024. From enslavement to emancipation. Today, the here and the now. Then I also wrote an acrostic. Why not? And Nicodemus was necessary in order for people to thrive and to move on. Immigration. We immigrated, from the South to Kansas and Colorado, but we're not immigrants. Everybody's an immigrant in this country except for the Native Americans, but I'm not an immigrant. Colorado bound, ongoing, driving, emerging, many, many memories, united, safe, and settled, sound. My father liked to quote the Bible, and he liked to quote poetry. So, in memory of him, this is one of the poems he liked to quote. He was born in November. November 23rd was his birthday. He said, "Dear old dull November, they don't speak well of you. Your winds are ever chilly, and your skies are never blue." That was one of his favorites. Another one of his favorites was, "Stop, stop, pretty water," said Mary one day to a frolicking brook that was running away. "You run so fast, I wish you'd stay. My boat, my flowers you're carrying away. But I will run after, for mother says that I may." So Mary ran after, but I have heard say, she never did find where the brook ran away. Okay, I have some pictures that I want to share with you. I might have to turn down one light. The light doesn't wash out the pictures. Can you see that, or do I need to turn on? Can you see those? Yeah. Okay. See, I'm not sure what the event was here, but I don't know, some type of special occasion, I would imagine. This is my grandmother here. This is one of her sons, Harvey. This one looks like my Aunt Viola, who always liked to pop her head to one side. Let's move on to
Do you want that used to mic?
Oh.
It'll go with you. There you go. Yeah.
Did you not hear what I said before?
No.
Okay, it's some kind of event, and I'm not sure what the big event is, but this is my grandma. This is Lula Mesa in the back there. And this is her son, Harvey Craig. He was 21 years old when my father was born. That was his big brother. And he used to always call my father, "You're just a rookie." We can go to the next one, Arthur. Okay, this is my Aunt Roland, who lived in Manzanoa, and her husband Harvey, the same son that I showed you. What she's doing is dropping a cantaloupe on his head. And it's a wagon-loaded cantaloupe, so do you think she made a hit? No? Looks like pretty good aim to me. Okay, this is my favorite picture of my grandmother. It gives you her essence. When she spoke, and she was expressive with her hands, soft-spoken, and she would weigh her words. But I like this, look at the expression on her face, and the softness of the blue dress. I just like that picture. Okay, this is my Uncle Harvey and Aunt Roland again. And this man lived about half a mile down the road from them. So when we first got off the highway going south to get to Manson, to get to the drive, we passed his home first. And it was always kind of funny because they didn't have water. They had to haul water. They tried to dig wells and so forth, and the wells went dry. And there was a reservoir there of natural water, but I think that dried out too eventually. So, this is my grandmother again, here. And this is my Aunt Hattie again, the one whose kitchen I love to go to. I mean, they all cooked, but we seem to go to hers the most, so, because my grandmother lived with her. Okay, this is my cousin Alice. Some of you have probably heard, but she also gives talks on the drive. So you may have heard a presentation by her. But that's Alice, and she had a dog named Rex. This one I actually saw on social media a couple of days ago in front of Alice and Uncle Harvey's house. Look at you can see the buildings, and times are not easy, even though they're here, better than Nicodemus, but they were not easy here either. It was hard living. They looked happy though. Okay, this is one of my cousins' toys. I love the outfit and the shoes. But you can tell the time frame by just their clothing. Flora May, another one of my cousins who lived out on the drive. Actually, she's Alice's sister. So she's 8 months old, I guess she knew how it was. She's hanging on. That is my grandpa that I never saw because he died before I was born. And his son, Harvey. Can't remember who the little one is. I think that is, I think that's his son, Jay, I guess. He's named after Uncle Harvey. Okay, here we are with the cantaloupes and the watermelons again. This is my Aunt Hattie again. And this is my Grandma Lula. This is Uncle Harvey. This is my father. Remember I told you that he was 21 years old when he was born. This is my mother and father. And the back of the picture said 1930, so that's around the time they got married. And I'm sure they're standing in front of the building in Manzanoa. That's a picture of me. and my younger sister. She's 4 years younger than I am. Some of you may have known her, you've gone to school. Her name is Sandra Kay Craig, and that's me, holding on to my younger sister. I think I was probably maybe 8 years old, I'm just guessing. This is May Craig Lively Crow, who was the minister at the Herbert Chapel AME, and her son Albert. I think that's a very elegant picture, like that. This was a Dixon who was related by marriage, but not a blood relative. Another very nice picture, with little shoes on. Then her cousin Elba Craig. So this is my Aunt Viola Mitchell and Hattie Craig Bernie again. And I don't know where they were going, but they look like they're dressed in the nights.
Yep.
Is that the last one? We didn't start at the beginning. Okay. Okay, the last one is, I told you about the video they made to celebrate her 102nd birthday. So we're going to just play about a few minutes of it. It's just an introduction. That's my grandmother.
I think, wow, my great-grandmother was one, and she's still living. Whatever you know how to do, get to learn everything you can about that and do work well. And that keeps you something to do, busy. But if you didn't do that, no matter how much education you had, it wouldn't help you if you wouldn't use it. So you have to use it every minute, and in the best way you can.
That's another cousin.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
All right, happy birthday, Grandma. Happy birthday, Grandma.
Grandmother, she told us many stories. How they came to covered wagons, how they got started, dugouts.
Happy birthday, Grandma.
Happy birthday, Grandma!
That's my brother.
Dear great-grandmother, I'm so happy the television people are making a film about you and your 102 years of living, and I'm glad I'm to be a part of it. Margaret Owens on television, wow. I'm so excited about coming to see you again, you and Aunt Hattie and Aunt Viola. It will be a nice time to remember last summer and that great birthday party of yours.
Happy birthday, Mom. Thank you. A very happy birthday.
102. 102. That's one full century and a little bit more.
Train station in Massanutten.
My name is Margaret Owens, and I'm here to tell you about my great-grandmother, Mrs. Rula Sadler Craig, an American woman of African descent, about her memories of the past and her hopes for our future after more than a century of living in the United States of America.
And is the whole film available somewhere to watch?
Yeah, you can buy it online. I don't benefit. I don't get any money, but if you just want to watch it, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
How far south of town was the?
How far south of town? I think it was about 10 miles or so south of Manzanilla on Road 11.
Is it out past Highway 10 then, across south of Highway 10?
Was it south of Highway 10? Maybe a little bit. We need to have a marker put there, so because people want to go there and see where it was, and there's nothing there now. But it's.
How many years was it active out there? Did people live there?
They moved. Okay, they came to Colorado in 1915. Some left, the Dust Bowl or whatever. The Craigs were the last one to leave in the 70s.
Wow.
It's quite some time.
If you type the drive into your Google Maps, it actually has a Google tag to the drive. You can just see where it is.
Thank you. Does it tell you how many miles? He wants to know how many miles south.
It's 32 minutes. Here, let's get directions.
Because we live off of 11.
27 miles.
How far?
27.
27.
20. Oh, from
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, because Highway 10 is 11 miles south of Nancy.
Okay.
So quite a better.
So you know that road?
Very well.
Well, thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed it.